Welcome to Pet Sitter Confessional. Today we're brought to you by Time to Pet and Pet Perennials. How do you identify the pain points that your clients have when they come to you? And what can we learn from a lawyer about reading the room and communicating well to our clients? Today, we are very excited to have Kevin Johnson, owner of Planet Paws Pet Care, to talk about his background as a lawyer, how he uses those skills to gain that know, like, and trust factor during the meet and greet, and how to walk that line between understanding whether a client is really all that needy and high maintenance, or are they just a rational and passionate pet owner? Let's get started.
Yes, Colin, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here. My name is Kevin Johnson. I am the owner of Planet Paws Pet Care, along with my wife, Christy. We are in Macomb County, Michigan, which is the northern suburb of Detroit. We're about 8 miles north of Detroit. And we started our business in September of 2021. We were just coming out of the pandemic at that point. And this is what everybody finds most interesting about me, is that I spent the last 18 years of my life as a criminal defense lawyer here in Michigan. And when I was coming out of the pandemic, like every other business that I was running or everybody was running, I had to rebuild. And while I was rebuilding my law practice, I was looking at pet sitting. And the reason why I was looking at pet sitting is because we have 2 dogs ourselves, and we were trying to find adequate pet care. We knew we were going to start going on vacations again. And in the past, we've always had family members that were able to watch our dogs. We've never really knew pet sitting existed, 4 years ago. So as I was trying to find somebody to watch our dogs, I really wasn't impressed with what was in my area here. So a friend of mine had recommended Rover. I went on there to take a look on there, and I'm like, this is interesting. Okay, find some people here. And it kind of, I don't know what it was, but something just hit me. And I'm like, they do a lot of overnight boarding, and our dogs are very dog-oriented people, so to speak. They love being with dogs. They love playing with dogs. So I thought, while I'm rebuilding my practice, if a little extra money comes in, maybe we'll just, we'll board a couple of dogs for other people on there. So researched the meet and greets and how to. So I got on Rover and started doing that. Then I thought, yeah, why don't I pick up a couple of dog walks, during the day? I've got time, still waiting for, courts to open up and everything. So I started doing some walks. And it was probably about 5 months later, I went to my annual checkup with my doctor, and I'm sitting in the doctor's office, and, she's behind her computer, and she kind of peers up aside. And she says, "What happened to you?" Immediately I start freaking out. It's like, oh, great, here it is. Here's yeah. Why? What are you reading behind there? And she says, well, she goes, for the last 10 years, I've been fighting with you on your A1C. She goes, it dropped significantly. And I'm diabetic, so that's my blood sugar levels. She goes, your weight is significantly down. She goes, your cholesterol went down. She goes, I'm looking at your face, and you're actually, you're not as stressed as you normally are when you come in here. And I'm like, well, I wasn't as of 30 seconds ago when you started talking to me. But she says, she goes, all your numbers are going down. She goes, all of a sudden, in the 6 months that I last saw you, she goes, this dropped significantly. She goes, what did you do? And I'm like, I kind of been walking dogs. That's, the only exercise I've been getting and everything. And we I told her about the side pet sitting business we had. And she says, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because this is, she goes, this is what we've been fighting for you for like the last 10 years. She goes, it's having an impact. It's having a positive impact. So I thought, oh, cool. So I went home, and for the rest of the afternoon, I'm just sitting there thinking about this. And I'm like, you have that, what am I doing with my life, kind of conversation with yourself. So Christy comes home, and she asked me, how the doctor went. And I told her everything. And I said, I think, I might need to change careers here. I said, it's going to be a significant change. I said, but it's, there's definitely a need. I think if we grow this, we can definitely get the business in the area. It's definitely needed here. I said, I think I can make, a go of this. She looked at me and she says, if your ego will allow you to say, I used to be a lawyer and now I'm a dog walker, she goes, I'll support you. And I'm sitting there thinking, there's worse things I could be called. I mean, I think being a dog walker is an improvement over a lawyer. So, she sat down and she supported. She goes, yeah. She goes, let's make a go of this. She goes, I've noticed you've been a lot happier. You've been less grumpy. You've been less irritable. I noticed a significant change in your health. She goes, I'd kind of like to keep you around for a few years. So um, she goes, let's do this. So that's how we got started. And then, I kind of put the practice on hold and started focusing on, building up, my pet sitting business.
I think that's the first time I've ever heard doctor's orders as the reason somebody started their business. But
Exactly. Yeah.
that's fantastic. And so, Kevin, do you think it was the kind of work that you were doing, the physical activity, or something else involved, or maybe a lot of other factors that kind of made that shift internally for you?
That's hard to say. I mean, I think it was, I've always had dogs my entire life. So I've been a big, dog lover, and I've had cats too. So all the cat listeners out there too, I'm not prejudiced against cats. I do love cats too. So I think it was just the fact that, it's a business where I knew what I was struggling with my pet care. And I was actually providing a good service to other people. I've always believed that what is that saying, be the change you want to see in the world. So I thought, this is what internally for me, it was like, I want to be this change. I want to be able to help people with their pets because I know the struggle I've had. And, being a lawyer was kind of stressful, especially being in the criminal defense field. And the last few years, I just haven't been happy. And, I think with the pandemic hit, I think everybody had that, what am I doing with my life? You had plenty of time to sit there and think about what you were doing with your life. So I think that was, for me, it was more of a, is this the time? Is this the universe telling me it's time to change, do something different? And, if I didn't have the struggles with my pet care, I probably wouldn't have gone down with this path.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had that need. And that's, we see that a lot too with just clients of they don't have a problem until they have a problem. And now all of a sudden they're looking for a solution. And in our own lives, you don't know what you don't know until you are all of a sudden faced with this decision or the circumstance where you're going, yeah, how do I overcome this? Or what does this look like for me?
Right. Exactly. And that's what it was for me. It was a struggle of trying to solve my problem. And I found a solution to solve my problem and everybody else's problems too. So
As a criminal defense attorney, there are a lot of skill sets in there. How have you, or what have you brought over into your own business, or how has that helped you? I can imagine the meet and greets are very intense, right? Now I'm kidding.
Well, it's nice that I don't have to go to a jail to meet my clients, so that's always a positive there. But I think the biggest skill, my lawyers, is the communication skills. A lot of my criminal clients, I did what they call low severity felonies. So I wasn't defending murderers or rapists or anything. I was, it was more drug users. It was more, people get into fights. And a lot of times it's their first offense. So they're freaking out. They're scared. They don't know the system. So my job was just, part of my title was counselor. So I had to sit down and, okay, let's calm down. Let me explain everything. Let me explain what we can do, how we can do this. And this is kind of a weird way to put it, but I see a lot of similarities with people and their pets. They especially those that are new to pet sitting. Here's a perfect stranger coming into their house. They don't know, is this guy going to take care of my pets? Does he know what he's doing? So I knew how to identify the pain points that my clients had and be able to discuss those, rationally, calmly, and just say, listen, here's what I'm going to do. And here's how I'm going to do it. And and the end result is going to be this. And this is what we're working to. So I think, just being able to calmly, rationally discuss with the clients is one of the skill sets that I had.
I wasn't expecting that answer, but it's fantastic because you're right. How many people call us scared, nervous? To the people who call us and go, I've never done anything like this before, which I'm sure you heard a lot from your clients as a lawyer. This has never happened to me before. I don't know what's going on. And right, they come in scared, not knowing how it works because they're used to calling their mom or a neighbor to come over, and they understand that system. And this is a whole weird world for them, and being able to present them. And sometimes I know we can get self-conscious about the number of steps that we have clients have to jump through and what the process is. But what it takes is just calmly presenting that to them of going, this is just the normal, right? This is what this is, and this is how you're going to. I can imagine that gives a lot of people a lot of peace and helps with that trust process too.
Exactly, and that's my goal with the people is to get them to know, like, and trust me because you know, as a pet sitter, they're entrusting me with two of their biggest assets that they own. Number one, their pet, and number two, their house. So they're scared. A lot of you might think that they're needy, you know they're high maintenance and everything, but I step back and it's like these are the questions I would be asking a pet sitter if they can't, if I went to them. And my wife and I are big helicopter parents when it comes to our dogs. I mean, my wife's so much more that when we were in New Orleans, she was freaking out the whole trip. Are the dogs okay? Because we had actually boarded them at the time. Our regular pet sitter wasn't available, and she's like, "Oh my God, are they okay? What's happening with them?" She couldn't enjoy her, really enjoy being down there, and that's what I try to solve for the clients. Like, look, you spent a lot of money and time in this vacation. You're excited about it. The last thing I need you doing is worrying about your pet. So that's why it's always constant communication with me. And I think that's the biggest focus that I had when I started this is being able to communicate with the clients, send them the updates, send them pictures of the pets, tell them what they're doing. Find something funny that they did. Hey, they were chasing each other in the backyard and these sort of things. So that way, when they get the updates, they can say, okay, I feel better. I'm going to enjoy my vacation. One less worry, one less stress I have to worry about. So it's more of a stress, reliever that I try to provide for them, but doing that is not, looking at your clients and saying, oh, they're so needy. Oh, they want everything or they're impossible. Because you know what, I'll be the same way, when I leave my pets with a pet sitter. So I understand where they're coming from. And I always sit there and try to walk in the other person's shoes to get their perspective on life. And then that's how I approach them.
Well, I was going to ask where do you start with that? You come in, you're going to meet this client for the first time. How many touch points have you had up until that meet and greet? And then for you, like how are you processing what they're saying to you, and how do you start organizing all that information?
Well, I mean, I developed, with the meet and greet, I developed a checklist of things that I want to know, taking care of your pets, feeding schedule, medication schedule, what's their favorite toy, what's their favorite treat, what's the activity they like to do. Just kind of like when I'm here, what should I do with the pet to make them comfortable? So I create that, that checklist. And then I asked my client one question. I said, what is it that you expect of me when I'm here? And, I kind of leave it open ended so that they can give me, some people will say, you got everything covered. I'm good with this. Other people will they'll go into a long, and I'm sitting here taking notes, they're like, oh, if it's thundering out, they'll do this and they'll do that. And sometimes they like to do this. And if it's windy out, they might be over here. And all I'm doing is just, I'm taking, notes. Exactly. And I keep those notes on a file. So every time I go do another visit, I've got my notebook here and I got my cheat sheets and I know how to take care of their pets. So it's just, it goes back to communication and listening to what the client's telling you, and also listen to what they're not telling you, because I've run into some clients that are just like, oh, I don't want them to think I'm a weird pet dad or pet mom or something like that. Nobody's a weird pet mom or pet dad more than me and my wife. So, whatever you've done, we've done it too. We've been crazy with them too. So, I try to tell them, just let me know everything you need to know. This is an open forum. It's a safe space. The more I know, the better I'm going to take care of your pet. So everything revolves around just communication and listening.
Yeah. And what a powerful question. What do you expect of me? And that is a big question. And I know for me, like I hear that question and I start immediately worrying. Are they going to ask too much? Like, are they going to have too high of expectations? Can I even meet those expectations? But until you just put it all out there and let them talk, and that follow up of like, then just stop talking and listen and act and take notes and information, because then let them be the open book. I think I've found that when I'm at a meet and greet and I'm the one doing the most talking, there's actually less understanding of what's expected of us the next time that we come over. That I need to be talking about 20% of the time, and asking just pointed, direct questions, and then listening, because otherwise, we have no idea of knowing. We then end up assuming a lot of what they're looking for.
Exactly, and that's what I'm trying to avoid, is by letting them, finding out what their expectations are, and then me kind of tempering their expectations. Like, okay, yeah, I have no problem watering your plants. Sure, I'll take your garbage out on garbage day and bring the cans back in. No, I'm not going to clean your house. No, I'm not going to cut your grass. So when they tell you what's expected, they're up here, I'm down here. So eventually we'll get, we'll meet in the middle, and they understand what I'm going to be doing. I understand what they expect. We come to a meeting of the minds. Another lawyer skill. That's the whole point of being a lawyer, is you negotiate to come down to a good agreement. So my clients understand what I'm providing. I understand what my clients expect. And once you do that, there will be no problems. I think a lot of pet sitters run into the problem is they don't adequately identify what they can do or find out what their clients' expectations are. And that's where you get the bad reviews. Well, I had a bad experience here. I don't want to deal with this client. And it all comes down to, you guys just didn't get on the same page. And by asking open-ended questions like that, eventually you'll get down to where you come to an agreement. Your meet and greets, my meet and greets usually last about a half hour on average. I don't like the 10-minute meet and greets because I don't think I got enough information from my client there. So I try to elicit more information from them by just, basically being a lawyer and cross-examining them, so to speak, until I get the information that I need.
You swear them in before you start the whole process? No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I do that. You can't handle the truth.
This is meeting all of my expectations, but right. The expectations of the clients. I distinctly remember we had a client where we thought as a company, we were providing an extended dog walk exploration period for an hour in the afternoon for the dog. What the client turned out, what they were expecting was actually an hour of training. And so we actually got feedback from them of these, I hired these people for a month, and there was no change in my dog's, training or whatever, like this behavior. And then we realized, oh, you hired, okay, right. There were some expectations here where you thought we were coming in to train. We're walking, exploring, we're doing leash manners, we're doing this other stuff. So the dog's behavior improved, but they were expecting a different result after a month. And it was definitely a realization of ours of going, okay, like we don't want to hide. We don't want to not ask tough questions, because the bad stuff happens on the back end. And it happens publicly, and you don't want that. And so get it all out there, and that's fine. That's part of this process.
Correct. Just by asking these questions, and I always ask, leads into it, because I imagine I would run into the same situation you did. So I always ask, what are the training methods that you've got the dog trained? And then they're like, oh, well, we didn't get them trained. Can you do that? Nope, I am not a dog trainer. I don't have the skills for it. But hey, I know dog trainers here. Let me give you one of her cards. She's right around the area. She's really great. They can work on this. And if you need me to, I even offered some of my clients, I'm like, I'll come to one of your trainings free of charge. So that way I could be there to, and it's more of a, kind of like putting my client's mind at ease, So that way, that when I'm on the dog walk, I'll follow the same commands that they're doing. So I've offered to do that with some of especially my elderly clients that are, they've got a dog and they're worried about, oh, I don't know if I can get them trained. They're just so uncontrollable. Let me come over to one of the trainings and I'll help you, and we'll get through that. I said, but I make it clear that I am not a dog trainer. If anybody's seen my husky, you'll realize really quick that I'm not a dog trainer.
Have you heard of Time to Pet? Claire from Acton Critter Sitters has this to say.
Time to Pet has honestly revolutionized how we do business. My sitters can work much more independently because they have ongoing access to customer and pet information without relying on me. I save hours upon hours of administrative time on billing, processing payments, and generating paychecks.
If you're looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Listeners of our show can save 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional. Sometimes we can feel bad of going, oh, I don't want to say what I'm not. I don't want to say what I'm not. I don't want to let people down. And I'll do my best. But if that's not who you are, what you want to provide, you're not setting yourself up for success. We've even had clients who've called us, and I don't know if this has happened to you, Kevin, where I don't know, or they don't really know what they're asking, right? Like they kind of are so unsure, so new that they just go, hey, I've got this dog and I'm leaving, and they stop talking, and you're going, like, so this is where questions come into play, because now you have to help guide them into like, what really, like, what do you need? What has happened before? So I know you offer a variety of services. How do you try and guide them to one service over the other, or do you go with whatever they reach out to you and ask for the first thing?
I always, if they're looking for dog walks, I'll ask them, I'm like, what are your expectations on the dog walk? And most of them are just like, my dog really doesn't like walking. I just need to get him outside, maybe get some playtime. It's like, okay, maybe our potty and play visit, which is nothing more than a drop-in. I just kind of made another cute, fancy name for it. I'm like, okay, maybe the drop-in visit, we'll take them outside. Well, they'll go potty, then we'll come back in. We'll play some games inside the house. I'm like, yeah, I think my dog would enjoy that more. Well, okay, so this service might fit you a little bit more. And with a potty and play visit, I'll say, okay, I'll check over your house before I leave, make sure all windows aren't broken in and everything, and we'll make sure the toys are picked up before I leave. So, and then when it comes to I think we're one of the very few pet sitters out there that actually board dogs in our house. We only take 2 dogs at a time, just for safety factor. I mean, with our 2 dogs, that's 4 dogs versus 2 humans. So we have no choice but to play a zone defense. So any more than that, and we'll get rushed and creamed, by the dogs. Sure. But I always talk to my clients and I don't know about boarding and we don't provide overnight stays. So I make sure that they understand that, if they hire me for my vacation care, which is the pet sitting part of it, I'm like, I don't do any overnight stays. What I do is I make the 3 visits a day to, get your dog fed, watered, potty. But I don't actually stay in your house. So I make that clear right from the get-go, so that way they're not expecting me to be in the house. So when it comes to boarding or vacation care, we always do a meet and greet when boarding at our house to make sure the dogs, get along. And if our dogs don't, if the dogs don't get along, then I'll suggest, we could do a vacation care. Maybe your dog feels more comfortable at home. We can give those visits. A lot of people who do the boarding, they like it. Number one, they don't have anybody coming into their house. There's still that fear of, I don't want anybody traipsing through my house. I've actually had one client tell me, I'm like, I'd be too embarrassed for you to walk into my house. He goes, we're not neat people. I'd be too embarrassed. But a lot of people are looking for that, with the overnight, they're looking for the socialization. And I always say 2 of my greatest employees that I have are my dogs. They always play down to the level of the dog that's staying with us. We had a 14-year-old Greyhound stay with us one day. And this dog was just a couch potato. It got off the couch, go outside, go potty, to eat, come back into the couch. And my dogs saw that and they're like, okay, cool. He just wants to sleep. We'll leave him alone. I mean, my one dog will go up there, do a quick sniff on the couch, make sure they're okay. That's my dog Poe, and I always called him. He's the bed and breakfast concierge. He's always making sure everything's going on. And then my husky Finn, even with smaller dogs, he's very gentle with them. So he'll get on the ground. And let them roll over on him and everything. So this is why we're able to do the boarding, is just because our dogs are very, very friendly with dogs, and they play down to the level. And I let everybody know that too. And I always get pictures of this too. It's like, here's Finn, here's your little corgi. He's jumping all over Finn, and Finn's having a great time with this.
Oh, that's awesome, right? And that you have that kind of connection. within that ability to provide that, do you ever get somebody who calls and asks for boarding, and it's not going to be a good fit? Do you try and steer them towards the drop-in visits and that vacation care, or how does that work out?
Yeah. So I always do the meet and greet, even if my gut says I'm not sure if this is going to work. You never know until you do the meet and greet. So if the meet and greet goes disastrous, the dogs don't get along, they're reactive, they're agitated towards each other, I'll sit there and say, listen, we could do the vacation care, and I explain to them exactly what that involves. And if I had a few clients like, okay, yeah, maybe that'll work. We'll do that. We like you, we like your business philosophy and everything. We do that. You get the other people like, well, I'd rather have somebody staying in my house. Okay, fine. Let me refer you to somebody who I know that does overnights that I would trust. So I try to keep a referral network of other pet sitters. Number one, those who provide services that I don't do, and number two, those who will service areas that I don't. So it's important for me to keep that network going, along with dog trainers and everything else. So yeah, I do. If the boarding doesn't work out, I do try to steer them to the vacation care that we have, if that works out for them. So sometimes they take it up on it. Other times they're like, well, no, maybe I'll contact one of your overnight people. Cool, great. I solved the problem for you, even though we're not doing business together, but I'd like to be a problem solver, and I did that. And the reason why I do that is because, okay, I might not get their business, but maybe this person might refer me to somebody else. They might say, hey, it didn't work out for our dog because our dog just doesn't get along with other dogs, but he does boarding, so and he steered me in the right direction. So maybe this is somebody you need to contact. So even though it's not an opportunity today, it could be an opportunity tomorrow. So that's why I try to keep those lines of communication open and just helping people with their problems, even though it doesn't put money in my pocket. Who knows, 6 months down the road it might.
Well, and it is that being a problem solver, being a resource, and really viewing ourselves as a way to get people connected with that community. How do you reach out to that referral network and go about finding those people? Because I know that's a little scary sometimes for a lot of people, is to think, oh, I don't want to talk to them because they may feel like competition, or they might not like me, or I might. How do you approach building out that network?
Well, the first thing I do is I joined my local chamber of commerce, which has been huge for me. But I look at other I look at my competition that's out there, and I look at their websites, and I'm like, their philosophy fits with mine, and I reach out to them. I say, hey, listen, I'm kind of a solo pet sitter here. You provide services I don't. You service areas I don't. I'd like to sit there and talk and see if there might be a business, connection here, something that I'd be able to refer, and always make it about me referring to them, not them, referring to me. I always believe in a philosophy that givers gain. And so I make it like, I might have somebody, in the future that might need your services that I can't provide, or area, or even I'm too busy to take this client on, and I'd like to be able to refer them to you. Those pet sitters that get it, they're like, yeah, that's a great idea. I'd like to talk with you too, and reach out. Other ones are like, and I can understand their thinking. They're like, what's his angle? What's he trying to get at? So those people, I'm like, look, let's meet for coffee somewhere. I'll buy coffee, and let's just talk about our business and everything. And so that way, where I'm coming from. And, I'm not trying to steal business from you. I've got business of my own, but I'm trying to help you out. And maybe somewhere down the road, you'd be able to help me out. This is what, referral networking is all about. And I'm a huge proponent of networking out there, especially with other pet sitters, vets, dog trainers, pet stores, everything that touches the pet industry.
When you're talking through that process of look at your business, find the gaps, find where things that you don't offer, where you don't service, and then find other people that fill that. That's usually the easiest ask for somebody, is to reach out and say, hey, you do something I don't, right? Then we don't feel like we're stepping on toes, or there's a lot of overlap. And then you can kind of fill in from there. But for reaching out for those first couple to build your confidence, to start that network, finding those gaps is really one of the, I really appreciate that you pointed that out.
Exactly. And that's how I went about it. It's like, I don't provide overnight. So I'm looking for pet sitters that do, because there's people that want me to do overnight stays. I've had people contact me who are an hour away because they've read my reviews and everything, and they like my, I just recently I had one that wanted to talk to me because of my fear-free pet sitter certification, but they were like an hour away, and I'm like, I can't, I said, realistically, I'd have to charge you the hour trip there, the hour trip back, plus a half-hour visit. I said, you're looking close to $100 a visit. I said, that's crazy. I said, you shouldn't have to pay that.
Yeah.
So, I said, but let me find somebody who might be fear-free or fear-free like out there. So I did find one pet sitter that was in the area. I'm like, they're Pet Sitter International. They're the certification on there. They do have some fear-free training. I think these guys would be a good fit. I've talked to them myself. We've discussed business together. I said, if they were coming to my house, I would feel very comfortable having them take care of my dog. So they handle your area. I trust them. If you trust me, you should trust them too. So, and that's what I did is I identified areas and services I didn't. And then I went out and looked for those people and just slightly told them, I said, I'm looking to fill gaps in my business. And I told them, I said, I'm not looking for a referral fee or anything else like that. I said, and a lot of people kind of like raise their eyebrows at that, but I'm like, no, seriously, I'm trying to my goal is to be a problem solver, because if I solve this guy's problem, he's going to remember that. And maybe he becomes, or he or she becomes your customer, but I know he's got friends and family that might be in my area. And he's going to say, well, he helped me out. He's over here. This is the area he does. When you help somebody else, that can never be a negative.
You mentioned that you joined the Chamber of Commerce. Why was that important to you to do as your business?
The way I looked at it, it was more of a community belonging. When I was a lawyer, I joined Chamber of Commerce. In fact, the same one I joined as a lawyer, which was always interesting. When I finally showed back up at the meetings, everybody remembered me as a lawyer, and now they see me as a dog walker. So those were always fun conversations to have. But it was more of a networking thing. It was the sense of community, getting to know other people in the area. And I was looking at it more so, it's like, okay, I'm starting a brand new business here, and I've got a lot of questions, and, I need website help. I need, probably IT help eventually. So it was more of a not working my business, but what are the needs for my business, and how do I go about finding people to help me with my business? So through that, I was able to find, the guy who built who redesigned my website, and that's been a huge game changer for us. I've also found, friendship and camaraderie. For example, my wife loves wine. She loves bottles of wine, and one of the guys in my networking group owns a local winery. So that's been a great connection, because I send my wife over there. She gets her wine. She loves it. So it's been helpful. But mainly it was just to belong part of the community and to get myself known out there in the community. Also not being known as a lawyer anymore, but hey, here's the dog walker. Here's the pet sitter now. So that's why it was important to me.
We talk about community as pet sitters, getting to know other pet sitters. Joining Chamber of Commerce, what you're doing then is you're getting to know as a business owner. Right, just period in a statement. Like that's you're joining kind of that group. You're networking with them, and it might not be just for all straight referrals, but it's growing recognition, growing legitimacy. You're learning from other people at just running a business. Then you need your so it's kind of like, I need my group of just random business owners, and I need my group of pet sitters, and I need my family and friends, and finding these places of where you can fit in and go for certain questions and to discuss the issues that you're facing.
Right. And what I discovered is when I first joined this chamber, I looked around and they didn't have any pet sitters there. So I got real excited. I'm like, I'm the only pet sitter here in this group. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to, I got real excited and everything. And I told my wife about it. I'm like, we got to join this. There's no other pet sitters. This is awesome. And my wife is always I guess she's the yin to my yang. She's always well, why do you think there are no other pet sitters in this? I'm thinking I'm going to get all this business, and she's kind of tempering me to like, well, wait a minute, maybe there's a reason, maybe there wasn't a need in this thing. I'm the kind of person that'll like, hey, let's jump off this ledge and see what happens. And my wife will kind of peer over the edge and say, yeah, there's no water down there. There's a lot of jagged edges. Maybe we should sit back and think about this.
Yeah.
So she's always been the good to temper me down. And she didn't discourage me from joining the chamber. She just says, temper your expectations. She goes, I don't want you to get disappointed, if it doesn't work out. And we've been in it we're going on our second year as a member of this chamber, and she is very excited. She's like, it ended up being a good choice. It ended up working for us. She goes, but my whole point was to don't get too excited like you always do.
I know you work closely with your wife to run the business and to be successful. You mentioned a few times of kind of your personality differences and how you view stuff. What is it like working with her on this business?
It's I'll agree. It could be a double-edged sword. She still has her regular job. She's a manager at a local Chrysler dealership.
Oh, okay.
So she handles more of the marketing and the business end of it. So she handles our Facebook, our marketing materials, everything else. I go out and play with the dogs all day, as she says. But she's, again, it was our personality where, I'm like, let's get on this. Let's do this right away. She's like, well, just go. Let's think about this for a minute. Let's, think. And she has an MBA, so she understands, the business end of it more than I would. And, so she kind of tempers me. She kind of, grounds me and says, step back, sit down, relax. Let's figure this out. So she's been really good at that by handling the business end of it. That, even though I'm a lawyer, I never really had a business background or anything like that, So, I don't understand marketing. I don't understand accounting. I don't understand, all this other stuff. It's like, I just want to get out there and walk dogs. And she says, well, there's back end stuff that we got to handle. So this has been a good division of labor for us in running the business. And then she backs me up whenever if I can't make, like if we're doing a pop-up event or something and there's walks or visits that have to be scheduled. I always tell her, I said, well, do you want to work the event here, talk to the people, or so you want to go walk these dogs? Every time it's always, I don't want to talk to people. I want to walk dogs. So she's not really a people person, but I kind of am. So this is another fit is that, if we got to be in two places at once and I got to deal with the people, she sends me to do that while she goes walks the dogs. So every time I do a meet and greet for a walk or a visit, I always schedule them in the evening so she can go with me. And then I introduce the client to her and say, listen, I'm probably going to do 90% of these things, but there's going to come a time where I can't, or I'm sick. Christy here is going to take care of it for you. So that's why I want you to meet her and I want the dog to meet her also.
How does that introduction usually go? Are people surprised to see both of you, or are they generally excited that you've got that you're working together?
I always tell them that I'll be bringing my wife, when we set up the meeting. I say, I'm going to bring my wife with me. And I tell them why. I said, because she's my backup. She's also owner of the business. So you're going to meet both owners. And most of them were like, oh, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. That way I don't have to set up another meet and greet. And yeah, my dog gets to know her. So again, comes to dealing with people. I'm the one doing the checklist and everything else. And she's in the other room, playing with the dog. But most people are like, that's smart. That makes sense. It makes me feel a lot better, because one question they will always have is like, what happens if you get into a car accident and you can't visit with my dog? And I'm like, here's my backup. And she understands that if I'm on the way to a hospital in the ambulance, that she needs to cover my visits first before coming to the hospital to see me. I said, you're not a doctor. You can't do anything there. So make sure the visits are done and then come see me in the hospital. So I make sure, but it doesn't get that bad. But I explained to him, I said, if I'm sick or something happened to me, she's going to back me up. So she needs to know the routine and everything. So when you hire me, you're hiring her too. So we work as a team. So that's why it's important for my clients to meet her too. Even when I do the boarding overnight or meet and greets in my house, I schedule those so that she can be there so that the client can meet my wife, because come evening time, if I've got to do drop-in visits, she's going to be here watching your dog. And it's important for you to know her and be comfortable with her. Because if you're comfortable with me, but not with her, it's probably not going to work out.
And really thinking through that as a business owner. And this is part of that communication to the client, right? Of building that know, like, trust factor that you talked about earlier, Kevin, of this is who we are. This is how we approach these problems. This is how we solve things. This is how we operate. And if you are listening to this and you don't have a spouse or a significant other that you can lean on for this that's involved with this, at least taking some time to plan out who your backup is and not being afraid to have that conversation with the client, because at some point it is going to happen. Like, just emergencies happen, tires go flat, engines explode, traffic happens, you get sick. Like, we know those are an inevitable thing that's going to happen in life. So we need to have a plan, and then we need to communicate that plan with the clients before it happens so that they know what they are getting into.
Exactly. And I think, maybe a month ago you were talking to Amy Sparrow.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love Amy. And she was talking about her emergency plan. And it got me thinking, after she's, we don't have hurricanes in Michigan. So it's one thing we never have to worry about. But I started thinking, it's like, wow, what happens if both of us are in the hospital? What's going to happen? So, and that's what we've been working on ever since then. It's like, okay. And that's why it's important to network with other pet sitters so that they can be your backup. Hey, listen, if something happens to me, can we work out an arrangement where, you might be able to back me up, and I'm gladly able to do that to you. We used to do that as lawyers all the time. If I had to be in 3 different courts, it was impossible. So I would call up, another lawyer and like, hey, you're going to be in this court. Yeah. Hey, can you get an adjournment for me on this case? Yeah, no problem. I'll cover it for you. By the way, are you going to be in this court next week? Yeah. Can you cover this for me? You got it. So that's what I'm trying to develop with other pet sitters. It's like, look, if you're overloaded, I'll help you out if you help me out. And this is why I don't look at other pet sitters necessarily as competition, but I look at them as partners also.
It is. We're partners in problem solving. Is really what that is. And finding and growing that network helps us. It helps us. It helps them. It helps the pet owner. And at the end of the day, we want the best care possible for that pet, whether it's with us or somebody else. Like, that should be our goal.
Absolutely. The pet comes first, always. Absolutely.
Our friends at Pet Perennials make it easy to send a heartfelt condolence gift directly to someone with a broken heart. They have this awesome direct-to-consumer gift model that takes the effort off of us and ensures a thoughtful, personalized sympathy gift reaches our client or employee on our behalf. All gift packages include a handwritten card, colorful gift wrap, and shipping fees across the U.S. and Canada. They also offer an array of milestone gifts and greeting cards that can be sent to celebrate birthdays, extend get-well wishes, and welcome new and rescued pets. Additionally, there are gift choices in case you need to send a sympathy gift in memory of a special human client or celebrate a pregnancy, engagement, or wedding of a pet lover. If you're interested, register for a free business gift perks account to unlock the all-inclusive discounted package prices. Since the service is used on an as-need basis, there are no monthly or annual obligations or minimum purchases. Learn more at petperennials.com. That's Pet Perennials with 2 N's. Check out that business program or register for that free gift perks account by using the link in the show notes. You mentioned earlier about how if you're going to an event, you may have to split up and go one way or the other and kind of divvying up those responsibilities. You do a lot of events, and I was curious, like, why those are important to you and really how you make the most out of them. Because I know a lot of people go like, well, I'm not selling anything, and what do I bring? What do I do in this space?
Yeah, we just started doing those this year. What I was trying to do is just kind of, it's another presence to get my name out in the community. So one of our local pet stores that my dogs absolutely love going to started doing these adopt and shop events. So what they would do is they would set up an event where they would bring in a rescue, cat and dog rescue, and they would say, come out, adopt your next best friend, come check out our vendors. So I got involved in that because, number one, I wanted to network with the rescues. Always wanted to see if there's something there that I could do to help them, to be, a service to them. My goal is to empty the shelters. So whatever I can do to help that, it's good. So I was looking to network. And yeah, we don't sell anything. We're not selling a product. So it's hard to gauge, how successful what this event is. I always look at these events because it doesn't cost me much. Most of these events were like, it was $50 and the money went to the shelter. So you know what? I'm good with that. I give more than that in those little donation jars, every time I see a pet shelter anyway. So I looked at that as like, if I was able to get my name and my service is in front of one person at the event, it was a success for me. So I was able to talk to somebody. So that's what it was. It was, hey, I'm Kevin with Planet Paws Pet Care. Here's what we do. And a lot of people are like, yeah, I need a pet sitter, or I never thought about this. Or, we get to people like, like, well, I got family that do it, but it'd be good to have a plan B, which always make sure you have a plan B if you're going on vacation with your pets. We do the same thing. We have a plan B. We're actually working on a plan C in case that doesn't work out. So when I do the events, is my goal is to sit there and engage and talk to people. And then again, it goes back to, where my wife isn't really a people person. She comes there and she's good at setting up my booth. She's good at, okay, this has got to go here. The cards should go here, brochures. She's good at that creative. Like, I just throw everything on a table and it's like, okay, yeah, let's win this mess here. Oh yeah, here's a brochure. Yeah, here's a card. She's got everything organized. That's where her skill is. My skill is just being able to talk to people and tell them what I do, how I do it, how I can help them, how I can solve their problems. And again, if I can't solve your problems, I probably know somebody that could too. So that's why we started doing the events. It's just more of it's a way to get our name out there. It was able to network with other shelters and other pet vendors. So we have a lady here locally that makes homemade pet treats. My dogs, I mean, it's like dog crack to them. I mean, I cannot give them any other treat but these treats. So I was able to develop a relationship with her, and we're working on some events for next year together. There's another lady that makes dog mom products locally here that we had a relationship with, and she invited us to some of her events that she's going to do. And so the event wasn't necessarily like, how many dog walks can I get out of this? How many overnights can I book? It was more of, who did I network with? Who did I talk to? Whose name? Who did I get my name in front of? So that's what we go with the events and doing this. And like I said, most of the time these events, it's a Saturday afternoon, and with the division of work that we do with my wife, sometimes I'll work the event myself. Sometimes she'll come out. So all it does is cost us time. And when you're networking, when it comes to networking, time shouldn't be a cost at all. So it's for us, it's important to get our name out there and network.
Well, and part of that too is as you're talking is I know a lot of pet sitters get frustrated that not a lot of clients and potential people in the community know about pet sitting. They don't know that we're a thing. And one of the ways that we can take ownership of that as being business owners is to be more visible in the community and help raise awareness of what options are out there, that we exist, that we're a thing. And this helps, us. It helps the industry at large as doing some more educational outreach of, hey, you don't always have to call your mom. You don't always have to take them to the kennel if you don't want to, or if they're sick. Like, we are a way to take care of your pets. If you didn't know that, here's some more information. So it does. There's just so many benefits from that. And as a business owner, when we do think about numbers, we do want to count things. We do want to look at bookings and inquiry increases, and all that is important, yes. But then there are this other stuff there's a little bit more bigger picture things that we need to keep in mind too when we are involved in these kind of events.
Right. And for me, it's important because we do get the people who are like, oh, well, I got my neighbor kid that can come in and, let my dog out. And it's like, okay, it's great that you got that. And it saves you money probably and everything else. But some things to think about, let me tell you about me. I'm pet first aid CPR certified. I'm also a NAPS certified pet sitter. So I understand, I can watch your pet and say, hey, something's not right here. I got to contact you and say, hey, maybe we should get them to the vet because they're not looking so well. Fear-free certified pet sitter. So, I'm not going to just reach underneath the couch, grab your cat and say, come on, it's time to eat, So I tell these people, there is a professional aspect to what we do, and think about it. I mean, your pet, for the most part, your pet is your baby. And, things have changed over the years. I mean, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and, the pet was just, it was a dog, it was like, all right, put the dog out, we didn't really treat them as family, but it has changed over the years that they have become part of the family. So I try to tell them the professional aspect of this, it's like, my dogs are the most important thing in the world to me. they're the most important thing to my wife. We're not going to do anything to jeopardize them. And that's what I try to say. It's like, we're going to treat your pets like we treat ours. And if anybody follows me on Facebook, you know that my dogs are the most spoiled things in the entire world.
Yeah. I forget where I heard this statistic, but 70% of pet owners would forego medical intervention in their life if it meant they could pay for medical intervention in the life of their pet. Right? That changes the conversation when we are talking to people who are that dedicated to the pet in their home. That changes the language we use, how we empathize and sympathize with the problems that they're having. And a lot of times they don't know what their options are. And just presenting to them what we can do for them. I mean, there was one time where I took a call from somebody and he, quote, just wanted pet care, right? And that word just kind of triggers me a little bit because I'm like, we don't just anything. Like, we we kind of over engineer everything. And I went through and I rattled off, all these things, and he went, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. And I like those reactions as a business owner because I'm like, right, you don't know what we do, but we have to tell people about that and realize that they have pain points that we can listen to and we can speak to as well.
Exactly. A lot of people don't know that. As a lawyer, I'd always get these, hey, I got a quick and easy case. Okay, well, that tells me right now it's not quick and it's not going to be easy. So, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, my dog's easy to deal with. And it's like, okay. So I go ahead and ask the questions and everything. And because they're like, I don't know if I should pay your prices because my dog's so easy. So, okay, I'm going to turn this into an opportunity. So I ask questions, relating about their dog. And then I explain to them what I'm going to do. Oh, my dog, he's got severe anxiety. Okay, well, that's not so easy then, is it? But once they realize what I'm doing for them and how I can provide for them, then they see the justify the cost. So, my advice to anybody, it's like if anybody sits there and they're like, oh, you're too expensive, turn that into an opportunity. Because basically what they're doing is they're asking you, why should I buy from you? Why should I buy from you rather than, my neighbor who will, do it for an ice cream cone? Well, here's your opportunity. Here's your opportunity to show what you can do and why you're worth that money.
Really viewing that opportunity and not getting offended, which is hard, right? It was hard. I mean, just last week I had a lady say, well, no offense, but that's way too expensive. And my first, I had a long day and I was kind of at my wits end, but realizing like she doesn't see the value. And so I need to view this as an opportunity to educate on that value and see and let her know kind of where we're coming from on that. And you're absolutely right, Kevin. Like that is an opportunity that you have. It doesn't always work out, but it is an opportunity.
Exactly. You can't get offended. And I guess that's one thing I learned as a lawyer. You got to have a thick skin. So you come into this. I mean, there are people who are just going to be absolute price shoppers, and that's okay. That's not your target market anyway. If the person is just looking to go to the bottom number, well, you're not at the bottom number. So that's okay. That's cool. That's what you want to do. That's not where I'm at. We don't have a meeting in the minds. We'll both go our separate ways. But don't get upset. Don't get offended. Use it as an opportunity to sell yourself and your services.
One thing that I know you did recently, Kevin, is you actually started a Facebook group for pet owners in your area. And I was curious why this was something that you wanted to do and kind of how it's been going for you.
Okay. Yeah. We just recently started that. It started with part of our other service that we do is we rep the Paw Tree food and supplement line. And so I started doing these online events regarding that. And I saw that these people had these, join my whatever VIP group or something like that. And I started thinking, I'm like, this is a great way to communicate with people because I've noticed that, with my Facebook page, I post stuff on there. I'm not getting the response or the traction that I would think. So I started this Facebook group and I called it Planet Paws Pet Club. And it was just a way for me to, hey, let's talk pets. Let's, show a picture of your pet, So, I try to post funny memes. I post articles I see. I think I'm up to about 100 members in there, I think. So what I'm doing is I'm sharing all this stuff with a group of people, and I think I'm getting more exposure than I would to the Facebook page. And I'm getting more engagement too, which is important. So we've been doing this for a couple of weeks now, and it's been really successful because we're getting a lot of people like, you know, I love seeing other people's dogs and cats. So I encourage them, hey, did your dog do something funny? Let's see a picture, show us a picture of your dogs. I want to see everybody's dogs. I want to see everybody's cats. And not just dogs and cats, but, if you got a bearded dragon, throw that up there. You got a snake, spider, whatever, whatever you're showing, show love for your pets. And let's see that. And it's just more of a, kind of a laid back, easy way to discuss everything that we love. And then that's our pet.
Mm. I see how that connects again to really everything that you're working on, Kevin, is getting people connected, connecting people to people, and connecting them to resources and information, and really kind of viewing this holistic approach to, look, it's not just the pet care when I'm in your home, right? Like there's so much more here. There's a community of services, of products here that can help you as the pet owner, and as you've said multiple times, Kevin, like you want to be a problem solver for people, and the more touch points that you have with somebody in your community, whether they use your services or not, the more likely you are going to be able to help them.
Right, and it's a way to show everybody it's like I'm an expert in my field. This is what I do, and show them other things. Like I'm a big fan of the Whole Dog Journal. I've had a subscription to that for years. So I'm constantly sharing articles from there on the group. And it's like, and I've had a lot of people like, wow, my dog suffers from that. I better get him into the vet, or I better get this checked out. Thank you so much for sharing. And that makes me feel good because I helped somebody with their pet. I mean, they didn't know that their pet had this issue, and now they're going to get that issue taken care of. And it's like, who knows? I might have, not so much go out and say I saved this dog's life or this cat's life, but there's something there that they're going to get taken care of just because I shared a simple article that I read. And I thought, this is interesting. People might want to see this.
Kevin, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and walking us through your journey and how you continue to reach out and help people and grow that community and network, and just stressing the importance of that and how it benefits not just us, but everybody involved. I'm just love your story, and I'm so thankful for the time getting to talk with you today. For those listeners who want to follow along with everything that you do, reach out, pick your brain. Maybe I was going to say ask for legal advice, but that's not what they're going to ask you about. So, just get to know you and ask for advice and running the business and stuff. How best can people do that?
Well, they can always reach me through Facebook. It's Kevin Johnson. You'll be able to see it. There's a picture of me and my wife, my two dogs, and my banner photo is my booth that I have set up. So I accept everybody as a friend, so they can friend me on Facebook. They can reach me through my website. It's planetpawspetcare.com. I'm also available by email. It's kevin@planetpawspetcare.com. Those are all the best ways to reach me.
Okay. Well, I will have links to that in the show notes, and so people can click right through those and start following along with all the cool stuff that you are doing. Kevin, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to talk with us and share today. I've absolutely enjoyed every moment of it. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
One of my favorite parts of my conversation with Kevin was when he said givers gain, specifically when talking about building a network and reaching out to other people. When we approach relationships with a giving fashion, we will gain reputation, clientele, community status, brand recognition, you name it. Humbly approaching those relationships with a giving attitude will be a win for everybody involved. We'd like to thank today's sponsors, Time to Pet and Pet Perennials, for making today's show possible, and we really want to thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back again soon.